Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I am Tyler Fikes. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Today, we are going to be back working on the KTM. It's been a while since it's been on the channel. I had some tune-up work done to it at the shop. I was busy, didn't want to take care of it myself. Just had them do a quick check over on everything, make sure everything looked right, change all the fluids, replace the brake pads, little maintenance work like that. In doing so, they said my bike was too loud. I said, what does that even mean? Because I've never heard of such a thing. And then they said that they recommended I had my muffler repacked. I said I put an FMF muffler on it because I wanted it louder, not because I wanted it quieter. I don't need it repacked. They explained to me it could be a power draw. This bike feels like it has plenty of power, so I wasn't too concerned. However, I thought it could be something cool for me to try to work on myself at home in the garage, but I'm gonna try to take a different route rather than just repacking it with the packing that comes in dirt bike mufflers. We're going to remove the packing. However, when you would remove the packing normally, it now is gonna have a big chamber that the exhaust is bouncing around in, and I don't want that because that will be a power loss. So I'm gonna pull the muffler apart, show you exactly what I'm talking about, and then I'm gonna take aluminum tape and try to seal that core so that the exhaust isn't going out, spreading around, looking for places to go, which is not the exit, and causing a power loss. I'm gonna tape it up. Hopefully that directs the exhaust straight out the back, because all engines basically make more power as long as you get air in, combust, and out. The quicker you can get it in and out, the better the engine's gonna run. So with messed up packing in the muffler, it's kind of bouncing around in the exhaust chamber, which would be the same as if there was no packing, it'd be bouncing around in there. So I'm gonna try to redirect it all straight out the back by sealing that core and making it so it has no choice but to go straight out the back. So without further ado, I'm gonna take it off of the bike, show you exactly what you need to do, and then we'll see how it sounds before. And as you can see, it's already pretty loud. And now once we get it done, we'll see how it sounds after as well. If I don't like it, I can always go get some packing and actually redo it the right way. But I think this is just gonna make it louder and definitely fix a little bit of a power loss that the shop was claiming I could have. So let's get it taken apart. All right, so taking the dirt bike muffler off is very simple. If you have a KTM, it's gonna be exactly the same. If you have something else, it's gonna be very similar. I don't know how they could make it that much different. For the KTM, you're gonna need an 8mm socket, and there's two bolts right here and here, and you just take those off, and then this is where it slips together, so you're gonna take these bolts out, put them to the side in the same order that they came out because they are different, and do not lose them. And then at that point, it just slides off from the header, or the expansion chamber, whatever you want to call it. So now we have the muffler off, and that's how easy it is to change these out if you wanted to get a new one, whether you want to go louder or quieter, you know, do a shorty, do a FMF if you still have the stock pipe, or just go back to the stock pipe. You can see this being a two-stroke, it has gotten pretty dirty in there, so it's not a bad idea to take these apart and clean them once in a while anyways. The next thing that you're going to want to do is get the right size Allen wrench or torque bit and take these back couple of pieces off. These back couple bolts. And again, set these to the side. You don't want to lose them. And you can see they get pretty oiled up too. So just imagine what the inside of that muffler looks like. So I'm going to set these to the side in the same exact configuration that I took them off, just to make sure they all go back in the same spot. I don't think it matters, but just in case one of them was like threaded a little bit differently, I want them going back in the same hole. I'm not totally sure what this one is, but we're gonna take it out too, just in case it's holding something together inside. I'm sure it is, and we'll be able to put it back together. So I'm pulling it out as well. Now the rivets you are not gonna take off because you wouldn't be able to repair that easily yourself. I don't have a rivet gun, so I couldn't. And now you're gonna get this outside separated from the inside. I'm gonna get a rubber mallet and start tapping because it's been on there for a long time, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to just pull it off by hand. And that's all there is to it. Once you get it separated, it should just slide out. So now you can see inside of there is pretty nasty. As well as this, it smells real good. It smells like two-stroke. So you're gonna wanna get rid of all of this, or I am going to want to anyways. And you can see all the filthy oil that is built up in that over the years, because I, of course, have never repacked this. And now you can see what I'm talking about. So the exhaust is supposed to just shoot straight out of that, and then some of it comes out and it gets muffled, that's why it's a muffler, in this, in the packing. So the packing deadens the sound. However, when the packing looks like this and it's not tight to this anymore, the exhaust is floating out and around, and it's having a harder time getting back in and going out. So it's floating in there, and it's decreasing power because the exhaust is hanging out in the exhaust longer than it should, therefore creating unnecessary back pressure. So what I am envisioning doing is just wrapping this with aluminum tape and then putting it back together. So now the exhaust won't come out and bounce around in here and have a hard time going out. It'll just go straight out. If you were to put it back on without packing, what would happen is the exhaust is gonna come out of these little holes, float around in here even more so than with bad packing, and have a harder time getting out. Therefore, again, diminishing horsepower by increasing your back pressure. And you can see this thing is freaking nasty, filled up with oil. So I'm gonna give it a good cleaning with alcohol and brake cleaner, just so that the aluminum tape sticks really well to it. And then we will go from there with putting it back together. Now on my specific muffler, I don't think I'm gonna be able to take that back part out because that's where the spark arrestor is at. And in order to do so, I would need to get rid of that rivet to pull this last part out. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that, unfortunately. And you can see in there, it goes to about here with the spark arrestor portion of it. However, I do think just cleaning up this back part will make a difference on its own. If you have a different type of muffler, I've seen ones where the whole thing pulls out and where you can take the spark arrestor, it's just a little end cap out. It's usually like with this bolt, that pulls off and then the whole thing comes out. This one, for some reason, is a little different. I'm fine with that. We're gonna see what this on its own does. All right, I just finished cleaning this part. I took like 20 minutes with a wire brush, brake cleaner, and some other degreaser, just spraying the inside out. This part, wire brushing it, getting as much oil, carbon buildup off as possible, and it is pretty clean now. You can see my hand's dirty, so that might actually get it dirtier, but it's as clean as it's gonna get now. I spent a good bit of time on it, cleaned a ton of the stuff off of it, so that should give us a better bond with the aluminum tape. And, you know, less carbon buildup in there is good because that's just extra back pressure we don't need. So I got my aluminum tape. You can go pick this up at any of your local hardware stores. I would like to do it in one stretch. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to though. The way it has this protective paper on the back of it might make it a little difficult to do so, but we're gonna make sure we get good coverage on all of it. And this is going to be lighter than the packing, so it is a bit of weight reduction. Make sure you get as low as possible to start. I'm gonna have to come back for that part, obviously, and then just twirl it around tight, making sure to get full coverage. And in a year, I might pull this apart and see how it's held up, kind of as a test of theory, I guess, see how well it worked. Don't get any overlap into that, because that's going to, again, diminish your power. So then I'm going to come back down one time, and I'm getting this as tight as possible. I think I pulled the perfect amount. This is going to work out. Make sure it's all super, super tight on there. I need one last little piece. Make sure you cover all the way down to the bottom, because the exhaust is just going to take the path of least resistance. So if you have holes for it down there, it's going to come out down there. If you have nowhere for it to go but out the back, that's the only place it's going to go. So that was pretty easy. It seems like a really good seal. That is not going anywhere. Even if you wanted to take it off, I imagine it's going to be pretty hard, especially after riding it and actually baking this to the metal. And this is aluminum tape. It's designed to get hot. It's not going to melt or catch fire inside of your exhaust, anything like that. And like I said, I will do a year review on this. In about a year from now, I'll take this apart and see what it looks like inside, see how it held up. I also cleaned up the back half. You can see in there, that looks a whole lot cleaner. I did the same thing. I sprayed some foaming degreaser in there, let it sit for a while, and then cleaned it out with brake cleaner. So shot a ton of oil deposits out the back, and then I put a heat gun in the back of it. This thing's really hot right now. That's why I'm wearing a glove. And made sure to dry all the packing out of the brake cleaner, especially since brake cleaner is flammable. So kept an eye on that. It's nice and dry now, but it was also nice and hot. So that's, again, why I have the glove. So now, once you have this cleaned out, if you're gonna do that part, I definitely recommend it, because there was a good bit of carbon and oil buildups in this as well. You're gonna take this, put it right back on that the same way it came off. And same thing with this. I just definitely recommend getting it as clean as possible. Slip it back together. I am gonna need to put this on the ground and tap this part with the rubber mallet again to get it to seat back in there. All right, after a couple love taps, it is back together. The bolts and their holes line up. So we're gonna go, like I said, same exact ones back in the same exact holes. I'm gonna get them all started. And then once they're all in and snug, give them all a final torque down. They should all go in pretty easily. If they look like they're at an angle, just move this around. They should go straight in. If it's at an angle, this thing either needs to come back out or more in. And now give them all a final snug down. And now with all the bolts back in place, you're ready to throw this back on the bike. I'm gonna give it a little cleaning first, because it's a little dirty now that my oily hands have been touching it a bunch. And now you're just gonna slip it right back on the same way it came off. Replacing these mufflers is extremely easy. Anybody can do it. Slips right back on, line these back two holes up. And then, like I said, these bolts are different sizes. For mine, the shorter one was in the front and the longer one was in the back. We'll get these started by hand. And then once they're nice and snug, give them both the final torque down. I have no clue what torque spec is. I'm just going kind of until they feel snug. It's not moving anywhere. I'm happy with it. And now for the not so fun part for me, I'm gonna clean up the garage. And then shortly after that, the fun part, I'm gonna start the bike up and we're gonna see what it sounds like. Hopefully it's a little louder and sounds awesome. about as cold as it ever gets out here. So I already watched the video. It doesn't sound much louder on the video from before taking the packing out to after taking the packing out. It does have a little bit different of a tone, and it's definitely more amplified in person. In person, it is insanely loud. It is a lot louder than before I took the packing out. I think what's going on is the exhaust, either before or after, is tapping out the limit of the microphone. Like, it's picking up as loud as it'll pick up, and it doesn't come out any louder because they sound the same, but without the packing is insanely louder. I almost feel like I have to go get a packing kit and put it back in, but I'm not going to, because F that. I will take it on a ride here soon in the next couple of weeks and see how it actually does on the trail, if it's like annoyingly loud behind me, because it's always been loud, but it is literally like 10 times louder now. It's insane. And it has a lot more of, like, you can hear every stroke. You hear it knocking, and it doesn't sound bad. It still sounds like a healthy 2-stroke engine. You can hear me ripping it up and down the street real quick. It sounds good. It's just freaking loud. So the benefit to that is you're never gonna have to replace your muffler packing again if you do it this way and you leave it that way and you like it, which I think I will. I'm gonna have to get used to it, but I'm definitely gonna give it a chance to get used to. And I do wanna see how that aluminum tape holds up over the course of a year. So like I said, in a year from now, I'm gonna take it apart again, see how it looks. I'm happy with it. My bike had been in the shop for a couple of months. I got a lot of stuff replaced on it. So the bike didn't even have fuel in it when I was taking the packing out of the muffler. So I went and got some 2-stroke last night. It is now the next morning. And I waited for the morning to have a really cold start. Put some fresh fuel in there, started right up. Of course, you know, it's a carbureted bike. I had to use the choke, and with doing that, it went perfectly. And then as soon as it was running, it was ripping just as good as she ever has. So the real test is going to be taking it out on a trail and getting some good riding in, which I will be doing soon. But for now, I think that completes the video. You know, the packing is out. It's definitely a lot louder. I hope you guys can tell on the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you all for watching. If you guys like the bike, like the video, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you on the next one.